Hi everyone and welcome back to Heartfelt Hustle. I am so glad you are here today because we are diving into one of my favorite year-end rituals, reflection. As business owners, we spend so much time chasing goals, solving problems, and moving from one task to the next. But how often do we pause and really look back on where we've been or how far we've come? Reflecting on our journey, I feel, isn't or is not just about celebrating our wins, but it's also about learning from the challenges, embracing the lessons, and using all of it to build momentum for what's next. So today, I am sharing my personal reflections of 2024 with you. I'll be talking about the growth moments, the hard lessons, the big takeaways from this year. My hope is that this episode inspires you to reflect on your own year, find your own lessons, and use them to set powerful intentions for 2025. So, without any further delay, let's dive in. Welcome to Heartfelt Hustle, the podcast that dives deep into the heart and hustle of entrepreneurship, where our dreams meet reality and where our passions fuel our success. I'm your host, Sushmita Jain, a loan strategist and operations director, founder of an outsourcing agency. Most of my clients call me their right-hand woman, and most importantly, a curious soul as well as a nerd. I am here to share my experiences. I am here to share my insights. I am here to share practical tips that will help you build a thriving and a sustainable business. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or someone looking to infuse more heart into your hustle, I am here and this podcast is for you. Each week, we'll dive into topics ranging from reconnecting to your passions, your soul, your why, and overcoming the roadblocks of your growth journey. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dig into this heartfelt hustle together. Hi everyone and welcome back to Heartfelt Hustle. I am so glad you are here today because we are diving into one of my favorite year-end rituals, reflection. As business owners, we spend so much time chasing goals, solving problems, and moving from one task to the next. But how often do we pause and really look back on where we've been or how far we've come? Reflecting on our journey, I feel, isn't or is not just about celebrating our wins, but it's also about learning from the challenges, embracing the lessons, and using all of it to build momentum for what's next. So today, I am sharing my personal reflections of 2024 with you. I'll be talking about the growth moments, the hard lessons, the big takeaways from this year. My hope is that this episode inspires you to reflect on your own year, find your own lessons, and use them to set powerful intentions for 2025. So, without any further delay, let's dive in. I'm so excited you are here today because this episode, like I said before, is going to be all about reflection. As the year comes to a close, I think it is so important to pause, look back, and celebrate everything we have been through. The wins, the challenges, the lessons, and everything in between.
reflection isn't about patting ourselves on the back for a well-done job. It's about learning from the hard moments and uncovering the wisdom that will guide us into the future. This year has been transformational in so many ways for me. As I look back, I can see both the obvious and the not so obvious growth moments that have shaped me, not just as a business owner, but also as a person. The first one is a deeply personal one, and which is healing and embracing myself just the way I am. For so long, I felt like I needed to fit in a certain mold. Like, I've been rebellious. I've been someone who has craved my own path, but still, we just don't, realize when we do start fitting ourselves in a certain mold, do we? To even show up, I was trying to be, in a certain format, in a certain style, or, trying to work out what's working, what's not working. Maybe I need to follow that as well. But what I've realized is to show up in a way that I thought or others expected of me was not actually what I was really craving for, and I could not resonate with. So this year, I let go so much of that self-judgment. I learned to embrace my quirks. I learned to embrace my imperfections and all the things that make me me. This shift has not only helped me show up more authentically in my business, but it has also helped me or allowed me to connect with people on a deeper level and help me enjoy the process of showing up as well. Another big moment for me this year was embracing self-care and boundaries. Let me tell you, or if you know me for quite some time, you know this does not come naturally to me. I used to say yes to everything, even if that meant it might drain me down. But this year, I have realized that saying no is one of the most loving things I can do for myself and for those I do care about, whether it's my family, whether it's my clients, because if I'm just going to stay and keep on saying yes to every single thing, would I be doing it just for the sake of it? Or would I really be doing it because I enjoy it and that's something that I really want to do or I do care about? So I started rather prioritizing self-care, setting clear boundaries, and it has been a game changer for me, my energy, my business, and even my relationships. To be very honest, I am getting more things done, and even as a business owner and even as a team, we are getting more things done because I'm getting all the help I can. I'm not feeling guilty or ashamed of asking for help. Rather, it's actually helping us get better at what we do. And that's what ultimately is important or matters, isn't it? And then, of course, here's one of the biggest growth moments and that I do want to mention and, acknowledge on this episode is this podcast, because I still can't believe I'm saying this, but I have a podcast now, Heartfelt Hustle. This was something I never thought, or I used to, when I got my iPhone, when there was this, boom and, there was these platforms like Anchor, and I got this memory a few days ago on Facebook that I had created an Anchor podcast quite many years ago. I did not even remember about it, and I did try and get started with podcasting back then as well, but I wasn't ready back then. I wasn't healed enough. I wasn't someone I was maybe just, testing things out and trying things out for the name and sake of trends back then, but it maybe wasn't that much fun. So I'm glad it did not carry through from then till now, because it wouldn't have been fun and more me the way and the kind of way it is right now. Like when I say in my growth moments that I did let go the craving of, or stepping into the shoes of being someone else others expected of me when I was, and now that we're talking about this podcast as well, when I was starting this podcast, I did ask few people who I am really close to and connected with whether they liked this name for the podcast, which is Heartfelt Hustle, and some of them did not like it. Obviously, maybe they did not resonate with what I was aiming for or what was the, story or intention behind the name. But when I did share that with them, that's when it hit them and it connected with them as well. If I wouldn't have let go of me embracing who I am and me going with my gut feeling and, moving forward with what I like and what I'm craving for and what matters to me, I might have actually changed, or I would have rather chosen the name of the episode based on what suggestions I had got. But rather, what I did was I chose to stick with actually the name I liked, which was, and I had chosen myself, which is Heartfelt Hustle. And me doing this episode, me even having myself on the podcasting platforms is a big thing, because until and unless I wasn't even ready to hear my own voice, I never actually even thought of having a podcast episode. So I never thought I could actually pull this off. So yeah, here we are, if you get my point. Actually, now that I look back, I feel the idea of putting myself out there in such a vulnerable way was maybe even terrifying. But obviously, here we are. And, the launch of this podcast feels like such a huge milestone, not just because it's something new that I've just got, started with, but because it represents my healing, my courage to actually get over my fears and my growth. Then let me actually also talk about the quieter, not so obvious growth moments, the ones that actually appeared behind the scenes. Because one of the biggest shifts for me has been around identity work and inner alignment. This year, I spent a lot of time reflecting on who I am, what I want in my life and business to feel like. I have been working with someone and it has been like so deep work, and it's like, to be very honest, it's not something where I'm chasing my goals or working on some to-do list or things like that, but it's rather all about aligning what feels true to me. It is, it's not, to be very honest, glamorous work, but it's the foundation for everything else, to be very honest, that I've accomplished in this entire year, and it's gonna be the core foundation for everything I will be working on moving forward as well. So yes, it has been a lot of deeper, not so obvious growth moments, which have been part of this journey when we talk about, the investment in identity work, the inner alignment, even my commitment to fitness. Because if you've been following through my journey, I started going to the gym a few months ago. And to me, I wanted to lose weight post-pregnancy because I've gained quite a lot. But, when I did join the gym, it was not about just losing weight. It was more about reclaiming my energy, my strength, even my confidence, because we might say, and we do feel confident most of the time, but well, when you have put on a certain amount of weight, you are still going to be in some way or the other going to be affected when it comes to your confidence, when it comes to the way you look, when it comes to maybe even when you're out shopping, finding the amazing clothes you would like to wear. So yeah, showing up for those workouts, even on the hard days, has taught me that it's about discipline and it's about building the resilience. So yeah, keep up, keep showing up, keep being committed, and keep working towards building that progress. Because, sometimes there are days when I would actually, like my trainer would tell me I wasn't doing a certain exercise the way I was supposed to. And it's a very slight tweak. Maybe, the knee should be pointing out versus the knee of mine actually pointing in at that moment. But that's a big change, right? And again, if I'm not going to be disciplined, if I'm not going to show up every single day, and if I'm not going to ask or have my trainer to actually keep me accountable, would I actually be learning all of these things? Well, of course not. So yeah, that's another one of the not so obvious but growth moment of mine. Then there is another thing which I feel is not so obvious, and we sometimes, or most of the time actually, do not even look at this, but these micro steps we take towards our bigger goals. It's about celebrating these two, because, we often feel like progress has to be dramatic and in order for it to matter. But the power of small, intentional, consistent action, whether it's improving your life, building your systems, building your business, growing your audience, working on your personal goals, all of those little steps add up in ways that are truly transformative. And we only realize that when we start reflecting back. Since I've started, the weights or strength I've been gaining, the weights I've been lifting, or if I look at, the amount of time it takes me for doing something now versus how I used to pull my literally hair while doing certain tasks in my business when I did start my online journey more than a decade ago. Well, it's a decade-long experience which has brought me here. So, micro steps towards our bigger goals, right? And finally, I also want to mention me embracing intentional experimentation, because being a manifesting generator, trying new things is kind of in my nature. I never actually realized that until I learned about human design, of course. But this year, I had it, and I've been experimenting. I've been giving myself the permission to test, tweak, pivot, try things out without, feeling or trying to find answers for every single thing before I try something out. So this mindset has not just helped me grow my business, but it has also helped me make the process more joyful and less stressful. Like if I would have figured out everything about this podcast right from the day I made the decision to start this podcast, I don't know, maybe this podcast wouldn't even be a reality yet. Like if you look at the journey just of this podcast, or if we reflect back on the journey of just this podcast right now, I started the podcast and, I thought I would work out the system. I couldn't, but then I had to, for a certain time, pause, reflect back, work out my system. And now we have a better batching process, better way of making sure we can have the episodes well batched and prepped. And, my team can edit it for me. And so, we are working on things. We are figuring things out. We are getting things done step by step. So as I reflect on these growth moments, both big and small, I want to rather encourage you to do the same as well. Take a moment to think about your year. What were your big wins, the ones that you're proud to shout, maybe even from your rooftop? And what were the quieter, not so obvious or maybe less obvious moments of growth that have shaped you in unexpected ways? Write them down, celebrate them, let them guide you into your next year, because, like I said, growth doesn't have to be loud to be meaningful. It can be small intentional steps that do compound and build it up all together. Now that we've talked about, growth moments, and we've celebrated maybe even the wins, let's be real, growth doesn't come without a fair share of challenges. Like, what is life actually without challenges? So this year, well, obviously, again, and I'm breaking these down because I want you to see what it feels like. And you might be like, why is this happening? Or what am I feeling and what's wrong? Or maybe, why is everything so challenging? So I want to, just like we did above or in the previous part of the episode, I also want to share both obvious challenges, and which were very easy for me to pinpoint, and the quieter, more internal struggles that took me some reflection to truly understand and work on as well. So the first big challenge was obviously the most obvious one, which is balancing parenthood and running a business. Like, being a mom is one of the most rewarding roles in my life, but it's also one of the most demanding ones. And running a business, running an agency, running a membership, being a content creator, there's so many layers, and you've got a recipe of constant juggle. Like, you're juggling from one role to the other. You're keeping up here, you're keeping up there. There are days where, maybe you're even feeling like you're failing, that, oh my God, there's no post out, there's no reel out today. Oh my God, there needs to be a podcast episode that needs to go out. Oh my God, there's that message from my team, there's that message from my client. What all should I keep up with? And there's the baby crying. And yeah, so you get my point, right? And, it makes you feel like, do I need a deep breath, or should I just literally throw a towel and not just, pick it up again? What am I supposed to do? But, what helped me navigate is that I started learning further. I mean, obviously, it's not that we don't know how to learn and how to prioritize, but it's simple, we need to let go the need to do it all. I started focusing on what truly matters at that moment, in the moment I'm present in right now. Is it that I need to show up as a business owner? Is it that I need to show up as the person managing my team? Is it, what is it? Which role do I need to step into? Be intentional about it. Give my 1000% in that moment to that role. Once that's done and has been handled, then move towards the next role that I have to play and dedicate my 100% focus towards that. Another obvious challenge was time and energy management, because as a business owner, there is always more to do than even there are hours in a day. And I know most or so many of us do feel that way. But I've, again, made a commitment that it's not just about managing my time, but it's also about managing my energy. And this is a very big mindset shift for me, because for me, I've always been a person who has just focused on the time and, all of those external factors rather than the internal factors. But now I am starting to focus on both. And I've learned to listen to my body, recognize when I need rest, and plan my days in ways based on that, ask for help, whether it's, taking care of the son, whether it's taking care of my own business related tasks, apart from what we send our team way when it comes to client work and stuff. So yeah, the biggest lesson: you can't pour from an empty cup, and protecting your time and energy isn't selfish, it's necessary. Now, let's dive into the maybe not so obvious challenges, the ones that aren't always visible, but you can, or they can just be as challenging as the obvious ones. So one of the hardest internal battles I faced was the pressure I do put on myself, because I'm my own toughest critic. And this year, again, I found myself constantly raising the bar when it comes to being my own toughest critic, by often even setting up unrealistic goals or, unrealistic expectations from myself. I used to feel I had that voice in my head that would say, you should be doing more, or, are you even doing enough? And then if I look back at my notes as in what all I've done today, and it would be like, oh my God, so you're really already doing your best. Like, you don't have to be self-critical so much about yourself or to yourself. So what helped me recognize that progress, not perfection, is the goal. Giving myself permission to take imperfect action and celebrate small wins made all the difference. Again, coming back to the example of the podcast, like, it's not perfect. There have been few days when I could not, to be really honest, keep up, and I had to take a pause, but that's okay. I'm making my own rules. It's my business, and I gave myself the time and permission. I did take a pause, but I did not stop. What mattered was I actually made notes from that pause, or when I had to take a moment to focus on few other bits, and it helped me crave out time. It helped me block out time for things that mattered to me, and it also helped me, like I said, understand my own priorities and what are the things I want to focus on. So yeah, it's all for a reason, right? Another subtle challenge was navigating the emotional complexity of growth, because I have realized this, that when we are growing, whether it's personally or professionally, it does bring a mix of emotions. There's this excitement, there's the fear, there's the self-doubts, there's even grief. Like, seriously, you miss that older person so much that, there are parts of you who, or what you're leaving behind, but then you're like, oh my God, why am I not doing things that way? There are moments like these when you might, I don't know, it might just be me, I'm not sure, but, I'm just sharing it out loud. Let me know if you do resonate with this as well, because, there's this constant battle sometimes, the way I used to run my business and life before versus now how I run it. I do love it, and I'm constantly changing, evolving, making notes for what maybe further ways I'm going to have fun doing it as well. But then again, there's this craving where, oh my God, I used to do it that way and I'm not doing it that way anymore. And or maybe there are moments when, it would be a bit challenging and demanding. And then I'll be like, oh my God, I would have done this before and I'm not doing it right now. And should I, or would I, or could I, or, I hope that made sense. So growth is messy, but that's okay. And finally, there are also the challenges of staying aligned amidst all of that is going on in life. Like, when you're going through this roller coaster, which is life, it's tempting to fall back into old habits. And I've been building my new routines, and it's so easy for me to get back into my old habits, or even sometimes, chase certain shiny objects for maybe like a quick fix in my life, or, some dopamine hitting boosters, which make me feel, oh my God, that sounds great, right? But then I keep reminding myself that my bigger vision and staying committed to the things that truly matter to me is what ultimately matters, isn't it? So yeah, that's, the bit when it comes to the challenges I feel I did experience or live through when it comes to this year. And each of these challenges taught me something valuable. Like balancing parenthood and business showed me the power of priorities. Yes, very important. Managing time and energy reminded me to rest and recharge, take some time for myself, and those quieter internal struggles taught me to lead with compassion for myself and for others as well. So it helps me be more compassionate. The most difficult bit, yes, definitely is to be more compassionate towards myself versus being compassionate towards others. So here's an action step for you. Take a moment, reflect on your own challenges this year. Write down one obvious and one not so obvious struggle you've faced, and then ask yourself, what did I learn from them, and how can I carry those lessons forward in the next year? So simple, yet definitely a tricky task or action step for you to complete. But I would definitely say take your time out and work. Now that we've talked about all of these juicy bits in the episode, let's talk about the lessons, because I feel it would be an incomplete episode if we did not reflect on the lessons I've learned, right? So lesson number 1 would be, it's okay to slow down. I learned this, and I've always been someone who has learned this the hard way, is that when I try and do everything, it's not optimal to the standards I want it to be. So slowing down doesn't mean rather me giving up, but it rather means I am giving myself the space to do things well, and that's okay. Lesson number 2 is your energy is your greatest asset, because, protecting my energy, not just by physical amount of workload or tasks that I'm doing, but emotionally and mentally has been also a game changer. And, giving myself the time and space has helped me work things out better than the way I might not have if I wouldn't have given myself that time and space. And then the most important, which I always do believe in, and that's the reason why I vouch for it, is systems and strategy are the 2 cores which can be the most foundational cause which can help you create and build your freedom. So simplifying is very important, but simplifying the systems and even the strategy you're testing and working on is the game changer. So structure, very important, and, creativity being amplified with simplified systems makes life so much easier. So what lessons did stand out for you this year? Write them down and think about how, again, you can carry them forward in the next year. So as I reflect on this year, I am actually, now that we're talking about all of these things, I am also thinking about my vision for 2025, because obviously I'm looking forward to building up on what I have built out right now at the moment, which is creating more balance, enjoying, the journey, showing up, talking about my lessons, because, all of these things do matter to me. And the more I share, actually, the more I make notes for all of these podcast episodes as well, it again helps me reconnect with who I am, what I do, why I love doing it as well. And it just makes me feel happy and joyful too. So the more I show up, the more fun I'm having. So that's definitely one thing that I'm looking forward to in 2025. So maybe, here's a quick exercise you can do too. Write down your top 3 lessons from 2024. List 1 or 2 ways you'll apply those lessons in next year, and maybe even think of a word or a theme or what could be or would be your vision for the next year as well. So to wrap it up, I want to leave you with this. Reflection is a powerful tool. It allows us to celebrate, to learn, and to grow, and head into a new year with some direction as well, right? So take your time, reflect back and pause and take or make notes of everything that you've experienced. And if you would love to share, do share these notes with me, or maybe the bullet points or big pointers with me, because, I would love to know. So yeah, that's just me being me and asking you guys. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And if this episode resonated with you, and if you feel you have a friend who might, resonate with this episode as well, please share this episode with them. Leave a review and tag me on Instagram or Facebook, because, I would love to know your thoughts. And until next time, or until the next episode is out, let's keep having fun. Let's keep doing things we love doing, and keep working on the progress and this journey. So see you for now.